882. I wanted to talk more about that warning that's going out to mums and dads today. The Australian Federal Police are warning parents not to post photos of their kids on their first day of school next week without locking down their privacy settings. Images with children in school uniforms, their name, or indicators of their location in the background can be used by offenders, say the Federal Police, to build a profile and groom parents and children. Now, joining us this morning is Paul Litherland. Paul is a former police officer, spent over 2 decades in the force. He's also founder of a group called Surf Online Safe. Paul, good morning.
Hi Liam, how you going?
Well, good to catch up with you, Paul. Look, you know all about this stuff. I never cease to be amazed by it. I mean, the idea of predators running around collecting parents' social media snaps, it just seems innocuous.
Yeah, mate, it's something that's been going on for a number of years now, Liam. Obviously, with the onset of the growth of the internet, it's the big thing for me, and where this warning comes out, and it happens every year, and it's almost every year myself. I've got to give that sort of same reminder. It's just that linkability of our photos and the ease of which you can sort of not only identify obviously what school a kid goes to by just the uniform they're wearing, but you can look at other images, you can link, almost map out a resume as such as to where a child might regularly go or regularly inhabit. So this is where a lot of the fear does come into play in regards to educators and police, because it's just so easy to find out information about people online, and having such identifiable photos readily viewable are pretty much a goldmine for predators, as we talk about in this case.
So Paul, what are these potential pedophiles doing? They're sort of collecting their own individual folios of ID for the children, and then they go into if the kids have an active social media channel themselves or a platform of some description, they go into that, do they? And then they try and establish communication, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, and that's where it's just that build-up of information where predators can sort of, I know where this child goes to school, I know what year they are, I know the friends they have, I even know where they live to a degree, suburbs. So that's an in for anyone, whether it's a scammer or a groomer or worst case scenario, a predator, even someone who's a troll or a bully. It's a way of getting in, and as a result of that, you can build trust, and a victim, especially a young victim, will tend to lower their inhibitions and sort of be a bit more trusting, and this is where it's very frustrating. I mean, a quick case I dealt with a couple of years ago with respect to this mum. She had a couple of kids who were kidfluencers, so she would create accounts for her children, and they would rate certain products around Perth, and I was asked, what do you think of that, Paul? And I said, well, that's not a bad idea, as long as you can't identify her children in the real world from their online behaviour. And she said, no chance. And Liam, within 7 minutes, I'd found what school they go to, where they were going, what they were doing, where they lived, mum's account, dad's account, where dad works. So that linkability we always need to assess. We need to continue to look back on what our photos are and how easy it is to build that information.
So when they say privacy settings should be locked down, what do they mean by that physically? How do they do it?
Well, it's just about getting into your accounts and just looking at your privacy settings, making sure your photos can't be shared by people outside of your network, making sure no one can tag into your photos, so you can't be identified external to those networks or to those peer groups. And a lot of parents will do that, Liam, but sadly, mate, a lot of kids won't, and only 24% of our kids to 30%, depending on age, will actually get into their settings. So it's great to do it, but in reality, even if you had the best settings in place, mate, someone can still take a screenshot of that pic, share it on their page, and now you've lost complete control of that privacy. So for me, it's just about coming back to the basics of, okay, in what way can my kid or even myself be identified by posting this image? And we can just edit, think about that every time, and it'll go a long way in minimising footprint.
Yeah. You're around this all the time, so it's easy to get cynical, I suppose. But can you be too paranoid about this? I mean,
I think you can, yeah. And And that's what I'll say. I mean, there's some people are out there going, okay, stop this, don't do that. You can still have photos online. You can still interact with your peers and your mates. And I say go for it, because this is the new world for our kids. This is their world now. We need to get used to that. But for me, it's just about taking those little points of refresh and just thought to assess where your stuff goes. And in the meantime, mate, what I'm trying to do, and we've worked together in the past in this area, where let's get the networks to take a little bit more responsibility, because
yes.
If a 13-year-old or a 12-year-old kid inadvertently posts a photo in school uniform on Insta or TikTok, why wouldn't the network, okay, let's blur out their crest automatically, so the kid doesn't have to worry about that. So little things like that to assist, because kids rush in, they make errors of judgment. So for me, it's just about assessing that and just get parents to sort of go, okay, great day, last day at school or first day at school, but let's just cover up the crest or put a shirt on or jacket on and still enjoy that moment without giving away so much information.
Yeah, look, I know this might be a bit old-fashioned, but I think about back in the old days, so the companies, the manufacturers, for instance, take tobacco companies, right? They face huge fines and problems if they find they're being sold or distributed or marketed, specifically marketed to young kids.
Yep.
Now, potentially, these problems are much, much worse than that, and yet these companies, the social media companies, aren't held to account.
And that's the problem we have, and this is why. I mean, cyber safety is a great words, Liam, and I respect that. But this is why I call it internet awareness. From my perspective, is just get our users to understand, because in reality, the networks, there's no real legislation governing that. The tobacco companies, car companies have to build products which are safe, but our networks aren't doing that. So this is what I'm trying to fight for now, to continue to get these networks to take a little bit more responsibility, because our kids are using, and yes, some would say they shouldn't be on it, they shouldn't be doing this, but they are. So we almost need to concede defeat there. So with the right education, we can still help them. But for me, yeah, it's just about trying to lock down. And I've dealt with predators and people who've got a huge amount of information about children, and they haven't done really anything technical. They've just jumped onto social networking and built that information. So we need to protect our users a little bit more, I think.
Yeah, it hasn't been too hard. Hey, just a final question for you, Paul. Do you think that there's more predators out there than we realise, or where do you put it?
I get this question a lot, and I do. I honestly don't believe there's more predators out there as such, Liam, but what I do believe has changed significantly in the last 10 or 12 years is those predators who are out there, mate, have access to so many more kids now because of the online world. So in the past, when we were kids, mate, that local predator or the guy, the stereotypical bloke down at the park in his trench coat, he was confined to that area, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Whereas online, a predator can jump on and get photos, content, and interact with someone who's in Germany, Britain, Uzbekistan, and they can be within their own home. So that, I think, has been the catalyst, and where we need to sort of pull back from that, give these people less ability to target and interact with so many kids than they have ever in the past.
Yeah, they're bigger targets. Have you got some tips on your website?
Yeah, mate, it's surfonlinesafe.com.au, and anyone can drop me a line there, and happy to give advice, and anytime.
surfonlinesafe.com.au.
That's the one.
Good on you, Paul. Thanks for the chat today.
Good to talk to you again, mate. All the best.
You too. Paul Litherland, former police officer here in WA for 20-odd years and founder of Surf Online Safe. On the morning